So here's an idea. Destiny needs a PvP game mode without any super abilities. And this is something you would have expected by now from Bungie, the very studio that basically made arena shooter gameplay on Xbox a mainstream thing. With all the great innovations we've seen to PvP, with Trials of Osiris, with Iron Banner, the core dynamic about competitive gameplay in Destiny remains the same. The Taken King gave us the Mayhem playlist where your supers recharge at a far faster rate, but how about getting something that's the complete opposite of that? Namely, no supers. And here's how this idea would work. Basically, whatever playlist this would be, whether it's going to be a control or a clash game mode, everything else would remain exactly the same. Your melee and grenade abilities would recharge at whatever rates you have relative to your strength and your discipline levels. Your movement abilities, like for example Blink Strike or Shoulder Charge or Shade Step, would remain unaffected. Any orbs that you generate as a result of any armor-specific perks, like for example the chance at generating orbs when you get heavy weapon kills, would still create orbs of light for your teammates, but this time those orbs by default would only refill any missing health, yet they would still honor any other perks you might have on certain pieces of gear. So for example, if one of your pieces of armor gives you bonus grenade energy on orb pickup, that would remain the same. And as you can see, this would dynamically change how you choose to load out into Crucible. Certain exotics would just no longer help you, like using the Helm of Inmost Light or Heart of the Praxic Fire, and likewise, certain other exotics that you may have considered before to be lesser or not as good would now become much more viable options. This playlist would offer a much more old-school gameplay experience. By going back, offering players a classical, competitive arena shooter mode, but within the rules and the physics engine and the different time to kill and weapon damage models of Destiny. And in terms of those mechanics, that's precisely how this playlist would differ significantly from a run-and-gun Call of Duty style mode. It would be a lot more similar to the classic Team Slayer mode from Halo, but again, it's Destiny, with a completely different weapon damage model and all these different weapons to use, not to mention the huge variety of grenades and melee abilities. Because of those mechanics as well, I think that this mode would encourage a much more strategic style of gameplay. It would help focus in on situational awareness, and here's how. When you have an offensive super fully charged, it's really easy to just run into any room, regardless of what your motion tracker is showing you and regardless of how many enemies are there. You have the security of knowing that while using the super, you have a higher chance of winning the duel, having said the enemies in that room also don't have supers charged. This encourages the idea of charging enemies and being a tank running into rooms. Take that away and what you have is much more careful thought before you enter any room, especially when you see a lot of activity in your motion tracker. And this encourages both greater communication with your teammates as well as different approaches to evasive maneuvers when you're on the receiving end. When you have an attacker coming into a room and you're alone or you're with teammates, that affects how you evade these attacks compared to just relying on supers. As in Destiny, it's a lot harder to win duels when you're going against multiple opponents versus a single target. Also, the round would still maintain that aspect of heavy ammo spawns. The special and heavy ammo spawns would not be affected at all, so the strategy for either controlling one or both heavy spawns would still be intact. Now, of course, it would be sick if Bungie at least added some kind of a custom games playlist, giving players the power and tools to create modes like this, but that's a discussion for another time. Let me know what you think about this idea, and if you'd like to play in a mode like this, a classical arena shooter mode in Destiny. If you enjoyed the commentary here, then like the video. And if you'd like to suggest any ideas on things that could improve Destiny, leave me a comment in the description box down below, and I'll make a video about it. Thanks for hanging out and stopping by today. I'll see you next time.
Let them see your light.